It's always good to have a go-to recipe on hand, one that's easy to make and a guarantee home run with your family. And while eggplant parmesan is nothing new, the version we're making today is. I'm back with cooking duo Betty Ann Donegan and her daughter Stephanie Dietz. It's great to have you guys. This is one of your favorite recipes.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's one of my students' favorite recipes and my family's favorite recipes, that's for sure. And my husband's favorite recipes, and let's see, who else? Steph's favorite recipe.
Okay, and we are making...
It's a lighter version.
Lighter version of eggplant parmesan. And so what's lighter about it?
Well, I don't bread it.
Okay.
I just put it in egg. When you're frying something, usually when you make eggplant, you put it in flour, and then you put it in egg, and then you put it in breadcrumbs.
Yes.
And when you fry that, it absorbs a lot of oil. So when you skip the flour and the breadcrumbs, it doesn't absorb as much oil.
And it still tastes good.
And it still tastes good, yeah.
Okay.
You need a lot of eggplant to do this.
And that's what you're doing different.
Right,
you added more eggplant.
Right, a lot of eggplant. Now, this, I don't salt the eggplant. See, we get our eggplant shipped in airplanes now. We don't have to worry about them coming in a truck because there's an enzyme in eggplant that starts to form after the eggplant is picked, and that's what makes it bitter and gives you that itchy taste in your mouth.
Yes.
When the eggplant is fresh, and this is how you want to buy a fresh eggplant, you want it to be firm. If you push your finger into it and there's a dent that remains,
don't buy it.
It's soft.
Okay.
Yeah, it's old. But an eggplant is never not ready to cook. Even if it's little, it's still ready to cook. It doesn't have to get big. It just...
So as long as it's firm?
Yeah, as long as it's firm.
Okay.
So if you grow eggplant, you can pick them little. Of course, you won't get much of a yield if you do that. And you can leave them on the vine until you need them.
Okay. So let's go through all the ingredients for what we're making today.
Okay, so we have some egg.
Okay.
And I mixed it with a little bit of wine, but you could use water. Okay. You want to thin out the egg a little bit. I have the eggplant. I have a chunky basil sauce that I make. It's a very chunky sauce. I just crushed the tomatoes with my hands, and there's a lot of basil in there. I have some sausages that I cooked and drained, and we have Parmesan and mozzarella. And then this is a little bit of the cooked eggplant.
Okay.
Steph's going to assemble this.
Okay, and Steph, you said I couldn't really use that light mousse because it doesn't the taste just doesn't.
And it doesn't melt very well.
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't melt very well. So
what about ground turkey instead of?
You could, but
pork?
it really isn't better than. If you can't eat pork, that's fine. But it really isn't better for you than pork sausage.
Really?
This is good pork sausage. Yeah, this is Longini. That's a good pork sausage.
You drained this really well. Cooked
you
it
drained
and
it. We
really
cooked it and drained
well.
it.
Okay. But you could also leave it out completely, just have it vegetarian also.
Or you could use beef.
True.
If you want to use beef, you could use ground beef. Whatever you like.
Okay.
My family likes pork, so that's what I use.
I do too. So that's what I would use as well. All right. So how do we assemble this?
Well, we're going to layer some sauce.
I'm going to start to cook this.
Okay.
I'm just going to put the eggplant into the hot oil.
And you cut it really thinly.
I cut it really thin, yes. And this is peanut oil, and peanut oil has a high smoke point. Now you see how that's sizzling?
Whoa.
Now the point of making this hot is there's a lot of water in the eggplant, and you want to keep that water hot so it stays steam. And then, if it stays steam, the water won't run out and the oil won't run in.
Okay, I'm kind of standing back here.
No, it's
You're using peanut oil.
I'm using peanut oil.
Use other oils?
Well,
I
use
peanut oil?
peanut. It doesn't impart any flavor to the food, and it doesn't stink up the house. So for me, that's a biggie.
But you can use other oils.
You can use. If I didn't use peanut oil, I use canola oil.
Okay.
You see how this is getting golden?
It is, and that's really hot oil.
It's hot. Yeah, it's hot. It's about 375.
Look at that. And so, Stephanie, sorry, we're
Just doing layers of sauce,
okay,
a little bit of.
What did you do first?
I put a little bit of sauce in the bottom of the pan,
Okay.
then layered it with the eggplant. Sprinkle a little of the cheeses, a little bit of crumbles of the pork, and then just keep repeating.
You keep layering.
Yeah.
Keep layering until you fill up the dish. Now you see how this pork is all golden?
Yes.
Now that's because when I cooked it, I sautéed it with with no fat in the pan at all, but not a lot of meat in the pan either, so that it gets nice and golden brown. That's called the Maillard reaction. That's changing that protein in the pork to carbohydrates, then down to sugar, and that's where the caramelization is coming. That's where you get all the flavor from. If you throw the pork in raw, it's going to steam in the meat.
But you don't want to overcook it either.
You don't want to overcook it, but you don't want it to be just steamed, because then you don't get any flavor out of the meat. See, when people make meatballs and they put them raw into the sauce, they don't really, they steam.
Yeah, you need to have them
You need
cooked.
to brown them first.
Okay, browned. Okay.
So you see how this is getting all golden?
Yes.
And that's all you have to do. So it's quick. See, this is what we want. We see that golden color. And we're just going to drain it.
And so you said you use a lot of eggplant.
This takes a lot of eggplant
too.
because if you were to weigh this without all the bread and all the flour, there's not much weight to this. It's just the eggplant. And eggplant has a lot of water, of course, and that evaporates, so you really have very little volume. So you need a lot of eggplant to do this. So if you get an eggplant like this,
Is that enough, or is that you
that
need
would,
more?
well, this is about 1.25 pounds. That would make it like for serving for 6.
Okay.
And I slice it lengthwise. Because
like that.
well, when you have small eggplants, if you slice them like this, you have these little millions of circles.
That's the way I do. Okay, don't do what I do, okay? Do what Betty Ann does.
Well, I mean, it doesn't make a difference, but it just takes so much more time. And you have all these little tiny pieces, especially by those long, skinny eggplants. By the way, this
Okay.
now this is an eggplant that has less seeds than this one does.
Okay.
I mean, I don't care about the seeds, but some people do. So if you want to look for an eggplant without a lot of seeds, you want to get one that's straight. And this
Okay.
one, see, is sort of a little
And
bulbous.
Steph is all done. Are you're not going to add more to that, or you think
No,
that,
I think
is that enough?
this is enough. Yeah. So you can you cook it covered for a little while. You can cover it with foil,
Okay.
and then we're going to take it off at the end, and I will show you what it looks like when it's all done.
And then they're going to pull out the finished product.
Finished product.
And of course, the recipe is going to be on our website. And we're going to try this at the end of the show. Look at that.